Welcome to the Coffee with Jeff and Jason podcast. Tune in for freshly brewed discussion on everything you need to know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your hosts, Jeff Tessier and Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Coffee with Jason and Jeff. I'm Jason, and
This is Jeff over here.
That's Jeff over there. I'm feeling a little naked today because my soundboard died on me, and I don't have the use of my big, beautiful mic, even though I'm so used to having it in front of me. It's weird it's weird to do this. I'm just like I've literally had a mic in front of me for probably the better part of the last 3 or 4 years. So not having one in front of me makes me
feels a little
weird, but a little odd. So if I'm also a little under the weather today, which I think a lot of people are. There's like something going around. You've been a little under the weather too, haven't you?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to let go. It's been last week and a half, kind of. Every time I feel like I'm getting better, it just keeps coming back. Can't really shake this cough.
Something's floating around. So if audio sounds a little weird today, guys, and I don't have my typical dark, sexy Barry Manilow type sound, that is the reason why. It's all good. It's all good. But hey, the show must go on, and it's more about the content than it is the production. So look, we have a great topic today, Jeff. I like this topic. I've had this chat now a lot recently, a lot of preparation for 2023, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like, I don't know, it seems like this always comes up every single year, which I always kind of think it's funny because it's something that really needs to change every single year. Pay plan strategies, commission or not commission? That is the question. No, I'm definitely not a Shakespearean by any means whatsoever, but that was my best attempt. Honestly, guys, the jokes don't get any better than this. But no. I mean, I think I think there's a lot to be talked about here, and I'd love to kind of get your thoughts before I get on my soapbox and share my thoughts. But let's just kick it off there, Jeff. Like, commission or not to commission? What do you think?
Well, personally, I mean, obviously, for me as a person and an employee working throughout the years, I like to get paid on what I did just because my performance was always strong and there, right? And I believed I could always get it done. So I enjoyed those, performance bonus brilliant plans or commission-based plans in those cases. However, given the situation that we're probably in today, maybe some of that might have to change. Maybe people's attitudes aren't quite the same anymore either, right? So a lot of dealers that when I was with the last employer, the OEM group there, a lot of dealers were changing to like a hybrid system to try to help their salespeople along because of the lack of inventory coming in, right? There was no real guarantees as to when that was going to happen. And of course, you only get paid when the car is delivered, right? So you still got to get to work every day and you got to live your life, right? So I think maybe a lot of that can change nowadays too. You can set the expectation of what it is you're looking for in your staff and track that and monitor it so that you're getting that. So you're not feeling like you're just outpouring the money and not really getting the return either, right? So, but investing in your staff, I think, is the right move here today, and making sure that they can have a good quality of life so that they're happy with what they're doing and are productive at work, right?
No, look, I'm 100% with you. It's all about productivity but employee happiness. I think it's a big one, right? Like, look, both of us have had the opportunity to walk into hundreds, if not thousands, of dealerships over the course of our time in the business. I have yet to see a dealership struggle profitably when employee happiness or satisfaction is at an all-time high. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's weird how those two correlate with each other. But they do, right? I mean, like they totally correlate with each other. Like, I have happy employees and my profitability is kind of somewhat in line between that. But let's reverse all the way back to the employee itself, right? Because, Jeff, I hate to say it, I think, this industry, there's not as many people, I would say, like me and you.
Yeah, that's a
Or
rare thing. I don't know that that exists much anymore today, but
yeah, I
they're
mean,
gonna
look,
give it their all as if it's
100%.
their own business, right? I mean, that's how I treated every job I ever had, whether it was just a parts guy in the Chrysler store that I started in the '90s, right? So it was always to me, this is my business, how I'm going to grow the business, and I want to be rewarded based upon that, right? So I didn't want to be limited, and that's another thing. I never wanted to limit my own income or limit the income of my employees either, right?
Well, and look, that's a good point. I mean, look, both me and you and thousands of others that are still in the business now for the last 15 or 20 or 30 some odd years, all right, got into the business. And let's be totally honest, we got into the business because of money.
Yeah,
Like we did.
it wasn't for the just the fun, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't like one day we woke up and go, you know what I want to do is I want to sell cars. That's what I want to do, or I want to service cars. Like that's not something that we just woke up one day and actually said to ourselves that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah,
But it was, and look, remember it was all the advertisements,
yeah.
want to make $100,000 a year in the first year of employment. I'm like, hell yeah, I do. Absolutely. Sign me up. I mean, look, everything was just about how much money, all right, that we could make. And that's what drew us to the industry, right? Was you didn't have to have, let's say, an overly high level of education to make a six-figure income. There's, I think back, when we were in school and in late '90s and stuff like that, and mid '90s, and is you were told if you wanted to get a six-figure income, you needed to go get an MBA,
Yeah.
right? Like that was how you got a six-figure income. And then here comes car dealerships that are just like, no,
Nope.
not at all.
You just gotta work
Hell,
12 hours a
you
day.
don't even, yeah, you don't even have to graduate high school. And in some cases, even if you don't have to graduate high school, if you spend some time in jail, that's okay. We don't mind. We'll take everyone. Um,
It's like the Dallas Cowboys.
I wish I had
Sorry
my
if you're
board
an
right
American
now.
fan out there, but, Jerry Jones has his, low bar.
But there's some truth. There's some truth to that. We will the Dallas Cowboys, along with car dealerships, will take care of anyone and everyone. That was the case, right?
Yeah.
That's what attracted us to the industry was the money. I don't think that's what attracts people to the industry anymore. I think this next generation, or even the current generation of people that are entering the workforce, all right, it's funny, they should be looking for a large income. Most of the people that are coming out of college right now, on average, have right around $40,000
Yeah.
in debt from school, and then the average income for a college graduate is under $50,000. So they enter the workforce with right around $40,000 in school debt, and then they and the average income for them out of school is around 50 grand. Math doesn't make any sense for me, right? So it's almost like we should be promoting that, but people are looking for more right now than money. They want to know that they matter, that
I
they're
think that
part of something.
appreciation is a big thing too, right? I mean, if I think back through the years, right, with my staff, nice to give raises every once in a while, obviously, but just encouragement and helping them understand that they're making an impact every day. That seemed to go a lot farther, right? You give a guy $1 an hour raise or $1.50, maybe if you're really lucky, and that might last a week or two, and then the reality of the situation sets in if it's not a great place of employment, right? So working together to make sure that they have that satisfaction is a big factor, I think, as well.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Look, we are now working with a generation that grew up with experience, right? That's what they all thrive for. They all thrive for experience. They want to go on a vacation because the experience. They want to do this because the experience. They're experience junkies. Like everything needs to be experience. I own a phone and there needs to be an experience about it. I go to a restaurant and I want to be blindfolded and eat in the dark. I gotta have an experience. I don't know if that's but do you know what I mean? Like everything has turned into kind of this experience. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a place that I go work and that there's an experience associated with that. But that is not what I think of a traditional 100% commission only position is. It's not necessarily the experience is what you make and not necessarily what was defined as the
That's
experience, right?
correct. You got to
Like,
remember too that employees got to remember that they're part of the experience, right? They've really got to define what it is that
but that's
they're
what we're
trying
used to.
to do.
That's how we
Yeah,
know it, right? But the expectations of this new
I know.
workforce is that we define the experience, and they come say, look, everybody wants to go work for freaking Disney,
Yeah,
right? They all want to go work for Netflix or Google or Meta. I was about to say Facebook, but you know what I mean? Like in their heads, they see these ping pong tables and beanbag chairs, and like they want to go work in an experience where I think our generation was, well, I went to go work for a place. They provided me a table, a phone, maybe a computer,
yeah, yeah.
maybe. All right. And I had to create the
And
experience.
certainly
It's
no
very
training.
now, you know what? We're from the generation, and I think a lot of our listeners probably are from the generation. This was a barbershop mentality. Okay. I was renting a chair. Okay. I I I gave up a percentage of the gross profit to the house so that I can have a space to build my own
Yep.
business. That is not what this current generation is looking for. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, by the way.
No,
If
no,
it
no, of
sounds like in
course.
my tone right now, it's a negative thing. I don't think it's a negative thing, actually. I think there's actually a lot of opportunity, all right, to
To
bring
build
in
off
some
of it. Yeah.
amazing talent, but commission and six-figure incomes is not what they're looking for. Agree or disagree? It's okay if you disagree with me,
No,
by the
I
way.
agree
I'm
with
just
that.
curious.
I think personally that they're looking for the steady income, like you said, right? And that experience. So really, I don't think they don't even understand commission probably, right? I mean, look at some of these guys coming from, the retail
That's a good point.
markets like Best Buy or whatever, right? Yeah, sure, they've got spiffs and whatever. I'm quite sure that, but they're not used to a commission-based structure, right? They don't even understand that thought process.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, how many people that are working right now under the age of 30 actually understands the calculation of gross profit?
Yeah.
Probably
I
not
think
like
probably too many, no?
probably not too many. Like they never got paid off the and then even fewer when you get to a manager level, how many people can actually tell the difference between gross and net?
Yeah.
Because how many managers are still getting paid on net versus gross, right? Like, I mean, I had a young GM recently reach out to me who just became a GM, and I think a little faster than he probably should have, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's like, "Hey Jay, this is my new pay plan. Like, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you think? Let's start there, right? Like, tell me what your thoughts are of this." Well, I'm gonna get a percentage this and a percentage this and percentage this. I said, "That's cool.
Do you understand how that's all
How
calculated?
how much? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Well, it's true. Like, how much control do you have over the fixed or variable expenses, and do you understand what the fixed and variable expenses are?" He's like,
Yeah.
"But you know what? I'm gonna get any car I want to drive."
Maybe that's all you gotta do is just give 'em a nice car.
Uh, I love. Look, I'll digress a little bit. I'll get off my soapbox here. The point of today's conversation was, guys, look, the industry's changed a lot right now.
Yeah.
The workforce has changed a lot, and there's so many things going on economically in the world right now that I think it's going to continue to change even more so. We're in some markets, we're already beginning to see unemployment start to rise.
Yeah.
Based on I don't know, man. Honestly, I think it's like a 50-50, like roll the dice at this point. Like it's just, like are we gonna see the big, R word? Are we gonna see the recession? We're not gonna see the recession. It's not gonna be 2008. That I know for sure. It's gonna be more of a gradual long draw. But hey, the bill is coming due for what we did during COVID,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's
I've
as
been
that
surprised that
just
we've been this long without any kind of, you know, payback for that, right? So we'll see. You're starting to see a lot of things happening. I mean, mostly with the bigger companies right now, right? But That's going to come down probably a bit more as well, like you said, and maybe more of a slow, long, drawn out process, which
Hmm.
I don't know, that might even be more painful. I'd rather almost get it over with as quick as possible so we can focus on the recovery portion.
Well, no, no, you're totally right. And not only that, it's also every brand is going to have kind of a different approach to this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look, me and you were just talking to a dealership the other day that's like, no, I'm back in full swing, man. I mean, I'm looking to like the amount of inventory I'm going to see coming in over the next 6 months is going to be more than my lot can even handle. And then we have people on the polar opposite of that extreme, who's like, I'm getting 62 vehicles between now and Christmas, and I've sold 97.
And it's
You know,
not
like
even clear sometimes what exactly might arrive, right? So,
100%, right? So I would love in this conversation to identify a singular, pay plan that I think will actually work for this next year. But I think every single dealership that's listening or watching right now is going to kind of have to figure out for themselves what is it. And look, so here's my thoughts on pay plans. By the way, I think every single pay plan should have three elements to it. All right,
okay,
should have an element for effort, results, and growth.
that's good.
And I find too often we usually get two of the three, and then we're always kind of wondering why we're not we're not moving upwards or anything. It's like, okay, I'm paying people for effort and I'm paying people for results, but where's this growth factor? I'm not growing my business. And I think too often right now in our industry, I see a lot of pay plans that don't have that growth factor. Now that's a very different thing than results. People think growth is results, but that's not necessarily the case.
No.
All right. There's a big, big difference there. And then a lot of the times we end up paying too much for the results and we don't pay enough for the efforts, and it's like if we concentrate on the efforts, the results usually come.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the given. So I think there needs to be a balance of these three in every single pay plan, but I'd love to get your thoughts.
No, I definitely agree with that. That's a great opportunity there because it'll just keep everybody kind of in that same motion, right? In addition, not just pay. I mean, what's the growth plan of that individual, perhaps? Like, this is something we could all probably do a lot better. We always talk about it when we hire a new employee or get hired as a new employee ourselves. That there's going to be mentoring and talking and these reviews, quarterly reviews or yearly. And that's not to be a negative thing. It's really more to focus on what has been the employee's effort, what's the growth been, what's these results, and how can we help shape that better for that employee to make ourselves better, right? Because really their success is our
Hmm.
success that at the end of the
Absolutely.
day. And in addition, I think people want to know where they are going in life, right? So if we can sit down routinely, maybe if we can even quarterly at least, right, or half a year as a bare minimum, just so that we can kind of either write things or make sure that that person knows they're on track. Because when somebody doesn't know what direction they're going, could be a big problem, right? So you want to make sure that they're clear, and some want to grow within the company. So what's that growth out pattern look like? Whether that be a 2 year or 3, 4 year plan out in the future, is there that opportunity, and is it shown how they can get there?
No, I think that's a really good point. And the other thing too, I think is key here when it comes to growth. It's growth for you as a company, not what your OEM is telling you.
Yeah.
All right. Those are things, what the OEM is telling you is what they need from you as far as results go. All right. That's not your growth. Your growth can be in line sometimes, but I find in a lot of cases that's not in line. All right. There is growth is what the business needs to continue to grow and develop itself as a business entity. Then there are results, and results is what your OEM is expecting of you to maintain your franchise license.
Well, they want to know, are you contributing to the per unit sold roll number, right? So
But I think too often I get into these 2023 conversations and I find like they just have results. And it's like it's all based on whatever the hell the OEM was telling them. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, well, our OEM's telling them we got to have like this and this quarter and this by Q2 and this by Q3. And I'm like, that's fine. But what that's separate from what it looks like to grow as a business. And then also, how does the results and growth ultimately affect the efforts? Because like if your results are super aggressive and your need to grow is super aggressive, then guess what's going to have to happen? The efforts of that employee is going to have to be super aggressive. So you're going to have to balance out how you're paying for them. You can't just pay on simply results and growth because the efforts won't be there.
Yeah.
Like it's a balancing game, and I think every dealership and it within every role, guys, this is not just sales.
No.
You know, like this is not just a sales thing that we're talking about, right? Like this is so true in the service department as well. I don't think we actually do this about this. I don't think enough. Let's talk about growth real quick. All right, how many technicians actually have an opportunity to earn or get rewarded based on the growth of the business rather than the results of the business?
It's very few. Yeah, it seems like,
Right?
every year there's always these labor rate increases, and even then, it might be difficult for the technician to get his piece of that, right? His growth is if he can produce 90 or 115 hours biweekly, right?
Exactly.
And
Well,
and that's a tough one.
that's a tough one, right? But if they participate in figuring out how to break that code, because look, there are departments that do it. We've seen it,
Yeah,
right? We've
that's
seen
I've
it.
worked for some companies that have these team plans, right? And we even implemented that at the dealership when I ran it. Was to set the goal for the whole dealership and how we were going to achieve it, and we would mid-month, because we were checking this monthly, right? Mid-month, we'd see where we were because we'd want to know what it's going to take to get back on track, or at least come to make things where they should be, right? And we had a team payout for that, right? So everybody was involved, whether it was the cleanup guy, the technician, the sales manager, the salesperson, parts guy, didn't matter. Everybody had
Mhm.
a role to play, and it helped out for them, right? So, and it wasn't a significant major value, but everybody had that pride to make sure that we're being recognized as a team, that we didn't let everybody down, right? So,
No, look, and I think that's a great strategy, and that strategy is that someone can include, because you know what that includes is see, that's the other thing too, is pay plans. Big disclaimer, okay, when it comes to pay plans, you have to be aware that your pay plan does not create a superstar culture,
yeah,
but to your point, maintains a team culture. Because boy, have I seen this get screwed up a few times, right? So, guys, let me explain to this real quick. Again, I feel like this whole chat, I'm just on a soapbox. I'm just like, let me tell you. No, but guys, no, but and I don't mean to do that. Like, that's truly not my intent. It's just like I've even having to fight with this, even with what I'm working on right now. Like a superstar versus a team culture is a very real thing, and it's not just in the automotive industry, guys. This happens in every single vertical, possible. And I find myself even sometimes falling back into the superstar culture. The superstar culture is typically within your business. You usually have two or three people, all right, that is producing more than either 40 or sometimes even 60% of the results, and then you have the rest of them that are just kind of not for anything, but you have your mid-level people that will perform at X amount, and then you have your super low-level people, right? So what it is you have low, mid, and maybe a high level, and that's what creates superstar cultures. We see this a lot in professional sports, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out, right? Just because you got the Michael Jordan, playing for you, if the rest of the team is not jamming together, it doesn't matter if you got the superstar, you're still not going to win a championship. In fact, well, I mean, Dallas Cowboys. it's probably a good example of that, right? Some superstars in there, but they can't seem to get their shit together.
no, it's true.
Anyways, I digress. But no, we have to get away from this superstar culture, and we have to be very conscious of that when we're building out our pay plans, because our pay plans have a tendency of breeding a superstar culture and not a team culture, right? Because if we put a pay plan that is so heavy, so think of those three things: efforts, results, and growth, right? If over 50% of your pay plan is on results, you will naturally create a superstar culture.
Yeah.
It'll just happen, right? And that works well for a few, but does not work for your culture. All right, and it's a short game, a short play, not a long-term play. You'll never get to that place that we started our conversation today, right? We started our conversation today. What was the first thing we were talking about? Happy employees breed profitability.
Well, and don't forget too, right? Your employees, as much as we don't like to think about it, are going to discuss their pay plans with other employees. It's going to come up. So, you don't want to have, if it's all based on results and Johnny's a superstar, but Timmy's got a little bit more of a challenge, you don't necessarily want Timmy to feel like he's never going to be able to have a sustainable income because he might need just a little bit of help and push, right? Not to say that you should carry him all the time, but not feeling like he could even start, right? So I think a lot of people, aren't realizing how to work together is the biggest, like you said, right? So
Well, honestly, man, that's because we don't have a growth element, right? So I love the analogy that you just used because it's perfect, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, you get someone who's performing at the highest because majority of your pay plan is built off of results, all right? And then there's no part of your pay plan that's built off of growth, right? So it's so this person may be getting high results, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're growing year over year and performing better. All right. So yes, they're nailing it here, but then the person that is really grinding, trying to grow, they don't get rewarded for that effort and time and growth. And what ends up happening is that Timmy over here bails.
yeah, he's gone for the
Our
next $2 an hour more job.
well, guys, they just anybody out there watching and listening, this industry has an 80% turn rate on employees. 80%. I just recently read it. It was less than 18 months. Less than 18 months. And that actually surprised me. Honestly, I thought it'd be closer to
That
12.
is crazy,
All
yeah.
right. Less than 18, 80% turn in less than 18 months. Why is that? We're breeding a superstar culture through pay plans that are so focused on results and don't balance both effort, results, and growth.
Yep.
Anyways, now we're getting toward the tail end of our conversation. Maybe I'm a little worked up for
Your blood pressure through the roof today. We gotta pick an easier topic for you next time.
I know. See, Jeff, this is why you don't let me pick the topics,
All
right?
right.
We,
Point
we
taken.
started this morning. Jeff was like, I'm not sure what the topic is. I'm like, here, hold my coffee. No worries, I got this. But this is the problem when I get to pick the topic, and I'm just like,
Clearly.
let me tell you. But no, look, I think the thing is not on the negative side, but on the positive side, how much opportunity this breeds.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the long goal here for people should be how can I help my team to better grow themselves, better grow as a team, better grow my store, right? And if we work together with the strengths of every person that within that team frame and build those pay plans around their efforts and their growth and the results, I think that we can really, like you said, the results are just going to be there. We're going to see that growth naturally, right? Sure, there's going to be some challenges, but we can work through those, right?
No, you're right. And look, and I'm telling you right now, I've been in some amazing dealerships and some amazing groups that truly do celebrate effort, results, and growth in the dealership and in their pay plans. And I'm not saying that it creates a culture. It
Well, you
is
can see it when you walk in, right? It's
monumental,
amazing when you walk into a dealership like
100%.
that, that seems to be hitting all the marks on all their KPIs, and you can't put your finger on it until you sit back and watch what's going on.
Well,
It's
the other thing
evident
too
right
is
away.
because they're celebrating.
Yep.
See, we see this in professional sports a lot, right? Like you'll go out there and
Sorry.
just because you put all the effort into it, sometimes the results are just not going to be there. But by putting and leaving everything on the field and putting all that effort into, there's a growth factor
Yep.
that exists, right? But when we're so focused on results, we don't get to a place where it's like, look, guys, you know, this is not my peewee soccer team or anything like that. Where it's like, let's just go out and have fun. No, this is like leave it on the field kind of level gladiator crap, right? Like it's like you put all you got into it, and the month just didn't happen, right? Right?
But
You should
that
still
can
be
be
able
your
to.
learning episode, right? So there's a lot to glean
100%.
from those failures, like we've talked about in a different episode, right? But
Well, look, but see, that you have to be able to breed a culture around that where
yeah,
it's like,
it's
no, we
okay
look, we
to not hit it out of the park every single time, right? But what did you learn?
exactly. You're not going to win every single game. Like nobody does. Nobody does. But we put
Right.
so much effort. We put so much of our pay plan into the results, but we don't put enough into the effort. Like I want to know that we gave it our all. We left everything on the bloody field that month. All right. Like we put it all in, blood, sweat, tears, late hours, early mornings, whatever it was, but it just didn't quite come together that month. That's okay because I think by putting through that effort, the growth factor
Yeah.
will pay for itself. Anyways, guys, I'll get off my soapbox. This is a fun topic, and I hope anybody out there watching, listening, who is discussing, their pay plan strategies for this next year, really take a look at those 3 different spaces, but also make it unique to your dealership. Everybody's are dealing with something else. We have some OEMs that are going to be having a lot of inventory coming in. We have some that just don't know yet what they are, and every marketplace is different because of economic situations right now as well.
Yeah.
So look, there's no one size fits all by any means. Take the
And
time.
you may need to revisit it through the year as well, right? As the year progresses next year because of what we may be dealing with. So just keep that in mind and make sure that you've taken all those points to heart and what's good for your market, like we talked about.
Perfect final thoughts, man. Thank you for doing that, because otherwise I probably just kept going.
That's all good.
You're the yin to my yang.
Oh boy.
Hey everyone,
It got
I'm out of
weird.
coffee. This is a little weird. Wow, this show just went a different direction.
Anyway,
Well, guys, I'm out of coffee. That means we're done for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend a little bit of your morning or early afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, with us. You guys have an amazing day.
take care, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Coffee with Jeff and Jason podcast with your hosts, Jeff Tessier and Jason Harris. Don't want to miss out on new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.